Hi, Spencer Cheap Pops, you're on the air.
Silicon Steve Valley, Vladi Dottie, we are here and we are High Spots and Cheap Pops, talking the very best of professional wrestling in the world today.
Anymore.
You think CM Punk goes back to WWE and Vince is 100% in control and things are the same? No way. CM Punk would have wound up getting along with everybody at AEW. Once he went back to WWE and saw everything was changed and Triple H is a good guy, kissed his ring. All right, how can I get fired? Let me beat up the smallest wrestler on the roster.
Oh, my God.
While he's fixing his hair. Cheap shot. It was a cheap shot. Come on.
It was not. Oh,
Guy's
please.
fixing his. First of all, CM Punk is a scrawny fuck himself, but he's like twice the size of Jack Perry. And Jack Perry was literally fixing his hair when Punk threw the punch or the push, whatever it was, the push to the face.
And the thing is, when he's telling him to when Jack Perry's telling him to do something about it and he's fixing his hair in front of him, that's going to trigger a psychopath. And honestly,
that's true.
Watching CM Punk in that interview, there's something a little borderline there, like the way he's thinking. He's a little bit on the dark side of things, you know.
CM Punk is a jerk off. He's a nut, and he's a jerk off.
But when you have a guy being flippant in front of him, like that is going to just light the fuse, and that's it.
He should have just went to the ring and done his fucking match and dealt with it after the match. That's what he should have done. He lied about being responsible. He made it sound like he wasn't the aggressor. Punk was a bully and a jerk-off in that instance. And he got fired on purpose. But you know what? But Jack Perry shouldn't have done what he did either. Jack Perry sucks. He's not entertaining. I mean, if you ask me who's a better performer and who's more entertaining, it's not even close. I take CM Punk 99.999999999. In fact, it would be 10 out of 10. Who am I lying? 100% of the time, I would take CM Punk over Jack Perry.
But again, how does Jack Perry walk back there towards Gorilla and Tony Khan is not chewing his ass out?
Because Tony Khan isn't a boss.
He's a friend. I get it.
Buddy who has real life action figures.
And also, in terms of what Punk did there, one of the things I did with that video is I'm watching everybody else. And honestly, those guys know violence. They're all pretty calm around and amongst them. So it's calm, it's calm, it's calm. And then the little douchebag says something that he can't back up. And he got snatched. And he's lucky that's all that happened. Sorry, man. But that's watching him. Dude, Malachi Black is walking back there with a cup of coffee. He's like, hey, man, what's going on? It's like Samoa Joe just goes and grabs Jungle Jerk off. And that's it. Punk walks off after yelling at Tony Khan.
Yeah, I saw it.
So, and everybody's pretty much calm up until right when it happens.
Until Punk gets physical. There was no reason to get physical there. But Punk's a whack job. But no, Punk wanted to get fired. He knew exactly what he was doing. He poked the bear with Hangman in a promo after it went off air. He poked the bear with the Bucks when he first came back. He wanted out of AEW. He pleaded with Tony Khan, let me go. Let me go. He pleaded with Tony Khan after he went back to WWE, by the way. But let me go. Please, just let me go, Tony. No, we're going to put you on Saturday night. It's not going to work. Let me go. It's not going to work because I'm going to make sure it doesn't fucking work. I want to get fired, and I'm going to do everything I can to get fired. Like I said, if it wasn't Jack Perry, it would have been something else. Punk, when he is not content, is not a joy to be around. And he will do whatever it takes, especially when he knows the grass is going to be greener on the other side after we went back and stroked off Triple H back in April last year.
And again, the way you talk about this, let me ask you this. If I put you in Punk's boots and you got into a fight with the EVPs at Brawl Out, in which you tore your tricep, in which you had to sign an NDA, and then you basically had to go and pay for all your own medical expenses, which isn't usually the way injuries are handled at AEW.
Tony Khan didn't say that happened, though. He denied that report today.
Oh, he didn't deny it. He said, I have to look into it. He's not even aware of it. So with that being said, if he
never mind.
And he's sort of shuffling, pushing it off. And you know what that tells me? They didn't pay for it because Punk has the receipts. He doesn't share a bank account with his mother. Okay. So basically, you have a situation there where he's coming back off an injury because of EVPs not acting professionally and injuring him. And now he's going to come back and, oh, I'm going to be the big old team player. Like, dude, like, okay, we'll give you your own show. And then I'm going to say this too about Tony Schiavone, by the way. All right. Tony Schiavone, who was almost the epicenter of this whole fucking thing between Jungle Boy and Punk, right? This is sort of agreed upon. They show that video and then they cut to the announce table, and Schiavone has a certain look on. And a lot of people called him out like, oh my God, it's almost like the finger poke of doom. And, they used the Vince Russo like promo with Hogan. I've seen a couple of people like split that with a meme.
Bash at the Beach,
And
2000, yeah.
Yeah, that one actually. And then I saw the interview that Schiavone did, and he was like, I think you posted it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm watching him, and I gotta say, I personally think, and I know he doesn't care about my opinion, he made that abundantly clear, but I personally think he's full of shit because there's something that he does that I've complained to you about ad nauseum. He's the one announcer when, and I'm going to throw three names at you: Adam Cole, Don Callis, and MJF during most of his career. They're all three are heels. And all three of them, when they come out and Schiavone's there, Schiavone is just calling them the worst names and just like almost berating them while they're talking. And it's as if he's having some sort of weird conversation with them during the broadcast. And he's trying to sway the crowd to hate these heels. They come back, and here the EVPs are supposed to be the utmost of heels at this moment. And he's quiet, doesn't say a word. He's not like, oh my God, these guys are disgusting. Nothing. But he's going to play it off. No. I was looking to go and get into what they were trying to do there. No, Tony, I don't buy it. Sorry.
He was very convincing. I mean, it wasn't just a little split it. He went off for about 3 or 4 minutes about how, no offense, but people who are assuming he thinks something that they don't, and they're all idiots and whatever. He absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to be a bullshit artist, but if he's a bullshit artist, he deserves an Academy Award because he was really convincing in that. He really was. And he went on to say, he didn't just say that that's not what he was feeling. He went on to say, I was at WCW. None of these idiots were. I was there and I was here. It's not the same thing. It's not even close. He was adamant about it. So I beg to differ with you there. I'm going to take his word for it because to me, he didn't seem like he was bullshitting to me. Now, maybe in that moment, maybe he was bullshitting about that. But I think he was very, very real when he said AEW is not like WCW. That's bullshit. And he also put over Tony Khan as the kind of person he is as a boss. So I beg to differ with
what?
You. Which is he went. I mean, he really went over the top with AEW not being like WCW. It wasn't just like a little slip it and hey, everyone just and try to chill that shit out. He went off passionately.
But when you tell me he went and put Tony Khan over as a boss. This is the same Tony Khan that went and named him as a producer. This producer, Tony Schiavone, asked one certain talent to not use real glass, and Jungle Jerkoff told him to go pound salt. And he felt uncomfortable about it and had to go approach CM Punk.
Has that been verified by anybody except?
Hasn't been denied by anybody, right?
So, okay, so you're going to take CM Punk's word for it, but you're going to say Tony Schiavone's bullshit. So it's like, why are you picking?
Because I backed it up with 3 different reasons. Anytime Adam Cole, Don Callis, or MJF come out, Tony Schiavone can't shut up because he wants the audience to hate them.
Are any of those three his storyline bosses?
Are any of those 3 his storyline bosses? No.
I mean, neither one of the 3 said anything bad about him. They've been kind of weird about saying it because that's part of the gimmick. I don't want to defend the Bucks here, dude. I really don't. You can't take Punk's word for it because he said he was trying to be responsible when he went after Jungle Boy. That was bullshit. Okay? Punk knew what he was doing. You even said it yourself. He's got some kind of weird fucking thing going on. A lot of people who have said that CM Punk is a liar You know, you talk about people, how he used to call himself the locker room leader. He said he never said it. You have 3 people, 2 of which in the Hall of Fame, that said he did. So CM Punk is not above lying and working people. Schiavone went way over the top, adamant about how AEW is not like WCW. And he was merciless with the people that were saying what he was thinking without knowing his real opinion. So I think he was way too over the top and adamant to be bullshitting in the situation. And I don't think it's responsible to say CM Punk is 100% telling the truth, everything he's saying, and Tony Schiavone is lying here. I don't know how you could come to that conclusion.
I came to that conclusion because of how I've seen him. And by the way, the Young Bucks put over Taz as being like their announcer that's pro them versus the other 2 sitting there. So they did kind of like react to them as like who's their favorite, which Taz does favor them way over the other 2. So like, okay, so they're not like necessarily boisterous about their support for the EVPs, but then all of a sudden during that segment he gets silence and like the look of despair on his face, which is the only way I would look at it, because really it might have been one of the first times he saw it, and he's like, oh my god, what did they do here?
He
Which
might
is
have
pretty
been
much
disappointed.
everybody's reaction.
Well, he might have disappointed with that, with the reaction of that segment. But I think
Right.
100% he does not think WCW is like AEW. I mean, he was too
Oh,
adamant. I mean, again, he went on for minutes, killing everyone like you who are saying they know exactly what he's thinking and calling him a bullshit artist. You're here basically calling him a liar right now. You're calling Tony Schiavone a liar, but CM Punk, the Second City Saint, never lies. Come on.
I'm not saying he never lies.
Well, you're taking everything he said in Ariel Helwani like it's gospel. I didn't punch anybody. No, you kind of did. You pushed the guy in the fucking face. Oh, I just thought I was being responsible. What way is that responsible? He was bullshitting. He told the truth, his own version of it, his own skewed version of it. And so everyone who's pro CM Punk is saying you're exactly right. He didn't lie. He wasn't acting responsible, and he wanted to get fired. Period. And I'm not going to take everything he said to heart. I'm really not. This is why you know CM Punk's a bullshit artist. He was trying to say, when he said the counterfeit Bucks comment, he said it wasn't about the Bucks, just what people talk it. And they take it that way. That's that they take it. That's how they take it. Vladi, did he not do that on purpose?
Oh, I think he was being clever there. Yeah.
Well, he came out and said he didn't mean the Bucks. He's a liar when he wants to be a liar. That's who CM Punk is. And he could call it working, and he doesn't care. He could call it work in the crowd, and you call it work in the audience all you want. But the guy is a bullshit artist. And he sees things his way, and he somehow, in his narcissistic manner, is able to manipulate the truth to make him even believe it. Was Jack Perry cursing out Tony Schiavone? I can't see Jack Perry cursing out Tony Schiavone. I can't. But we're going to believe CM Punk after Schiavone when it comes out. And I mean, I can just look at him and take their word for it. Schiavone has a less reason to lie than anybody. He doesn't give a shit. He's going to retire soon. He doesn't care. And I really believed him when he said he does not care. And he also talked about the footage. He's like, I didn't care about the footage. It was whatever. I didn't care. I don't care about. So he wasn't exactly saying it was good to show. But it's like, which one are you going to believe? It seems like you're taking a guy who clearly is a bullshit artist in CM Punk, opposed to a guy who maybe he was more disappointed than he's letting on, but he certainly was adamant about AEW is not like WCW. So everyone who's saying that needs to
stop your thoughts right there. Stop your thoughts right there. I never said the AEW versus WCW comparison. I'm saying off of his reaction, him saying that he was playing into the heel EVPs. What I'm saying is every EVP, every heel he pretty much deals with, he is the Nancy negative, calling them weird little childish names, and throughout. And this has been a critique of mine of his for as long as we've watched AEW. And then all of a sudden we have a heel and he's just like looking at the camera and just trying not to react at all, and almost just like a look of shock on his face. That's what I saw.
So you're only going to take one snippet of his response opposed to everything he said. Right? Okay.
Well, I didn't say anything about WCW and AEW. I'm not saying
that was
AEW
part of his spiel. That was part of everything that he was saying, because you talked about why are we bringing up WCW? Because everyone brought up how it looked like Bash at the Beach in 2000. That was the big thing. It's the same vibes. He had the same look on himself. You even brought it up. So, yeah, there is a WCW comparison. You did bring it up, and that was part of what he was saying. And you're taking him to court on it. He was a lot more believable out of the two people out of both interviews who I'm going to choose to believe. I'm going to believe Schiavone 10 times more than I'd believe CM Punk. Especially if your big thing is because he called 3 heels scumbags and doesn't call any of the other heels, and he doesn't call the Buck scumbags. That is a stretch for the reasoning behind you're thinking he's full of shit. It's a real stretch.
Wait, so that's how is that a stretch when he does that over and over? It's a point that I've made on the show.
Again, none of them are their bosses. Have you noticed the Bucks are berating everybody that works there? Renee Paquette, the other chick, Tony Schiavone. Right. I mean, they almost pushed Schiavone. And he said, you got to show us respect or you're fired. It's part of who they are. It's part of that storyline. Again, I'm choosing to believe Tony Schiavone in a 4 or 5 minute spiel. I listened to the entire thing. I believed him a hell of a lot more than Mr. I was acting responsible.
In terms of the Mr. I was acting responsible thing, what caught you off? What caught you off guard about what happened and what you saw there?
What was responsible of going to a talent right before your match in the biggest wrestling show outside of WWE of all time, getting in his face, and then throwing the first physical part of the altercation? What is responsible about that? I thought I was being responsible.
He thought he was handling a situation as professionally as he could at that moment. That's what he meant.
So you think, wow. If he thinks that was the most responsible thing, then CM Punk is a fucking derelict.
Is he?
Walking up to somebody's face and then starting a physical altercation with them is the most responsible thing he could do? Come on.
What's he do for a living?
Christ. The AEW gatekeepers are going to be loving me now.
What's he do for a living? Is he a professional wrestler? Yesterday in the news.
He's a tax auditor.
Right. So there's an air of physicality and violence in what he does, right? Yesterday in the news, Chicago Bulls are coming back after a loss on their team bus. There's a fight and altercation between Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero. Okay. So athletes, same team, are getting into it. Okay. How many times do we hear this in the NFL? Shit goes down in the locker room. There's a disagreement. This happens with sports. So let's stop acting like this is some sort of Warner Brothers board of directors meeting, and this is what's going on, and he was being unprofessional.
Did anyone ever say who started a fight that they were being responsible? The word is responsible that Punk used. He used the word I thought I was being responsible. No, he didn't. You have to be a fucking nut to believe that. He went up to the guy's face right after his match, right before his match, and he started a physical altercation. That's not responsible. It was him getting fired on purpose. And only a CM Punk sycophant would think otherwise.
And as that sycophant, I would say as soon as the words "Cry Me a River" were spoken into that camera, I would say to myself, the fight is going to happen.
Okay. That doesn't mean CM Punk was responsible. Look, I'm not defending Jungle Jack Perry, nor the Young Bucks, nor Tony Khan on their part. I never have. But to sit there and say that CM Punk was this poor guy just trying to be responsible and just couldn't get things done is a joke. It's bullshit. He wasn't being responsible. He was pissed off. He hasn't had no fucks to give because he wanted to get fired so he can debut at Survivor Series in Chicago. Period. That's the fact. I never heard anyone else say Jungle Jack Perry cursed Schiavone out. Only one person said that, and it was CM Punk. And we clearly know he's a bullshit artist, and he's not above lying.
And he also mentioned 2 other people that Jack Perry went off on. So you think he would just extend himself that much in this world where anybody can make a phone call to Meltzer, Alvarez, whoever it might be, and say, nah, that was bullshit?
I don't know, man. You're asking me to go believe everything CM Punk says when the guy's a proven liar. I'm not doing it. Sorry. Schiavone, prove to me that Schiavone's a proven liar. You can't. He's old school like Jim Ross. Punk, we see him lie. I never called myself a locker-room leader. Fuck out of here. I guess Booker T and RVD are lying, and Chris Jericho are all lying. Okay, Cody's lying. Fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry. I'm going to believe everything CM Punk says, but Schiavone's a bullshitter. I mean, Jesus. Out of the 2
I'm
people...
just playing it up. Yeah, and honestly, I'm sorry, I don't put Tony Schiavone on a pedestal like you do.
No,
I've
you
never
put
seen
CM Punk on
bigger
a
thing.
pedestal.
And honestly, who am I more entertained with? Who would I rather see on my TV? Ask me that question. So yeah, that's where my allegiance goes.
One's a professional wrestler, the other one's a commentator.
Who's awful at his job. Sorry.
I don't know.
Sorry to burst your bubble.
CM Punk couldn't wrestle his way out of a wet paper bag with scissors in his hands at this point in time. If you haven't noticed his in-ring abilities the last 3 years.
And you know what? You put him on the microphone, he's a way better announcer than Tony Schiavone. Tell me when I'm telling lies. There you go.
I agree with that, but that
and
doesn't mean that
he doesn't have.
But we're talking about honesty, and we're talking about who is the most honest person out of the two.
You're talking about honesty because you have this, oh, he quit on purpose, and you have these sort of levels of like, I know what he was thinking.
But you know what Schiavone's thinking?
I'm just telling you, based on what his character does over and over. And honestly, okay, you make a valid point about the EVPs and them, and this is where it loses me, is because I don't find them overtly intimidating. So actually, I did forget about when they pushed him down once before. Like, yeah, that does make sense. They actually did get a little physical.
And they've been threatening everybody's job on camera, literally threatening and breaking everybody's balls on camera because you can't say, you have to call them Matthew and Nicholas. They've all been calling them that when they weren't. They're really putting effort into this whole thing that they're controlling. I am going to take Schiavone at his word because, first of all, the way he spoke seemed really adamant and true. And either he deserves an Academy Award or he was telling the truth. CM Punk, bullshitter. Thank you so much for watching High Spots and Cheap Pops. For Vladi Donnie, this is Silicon Steve Alley. Hit the subscribe button and let us know what you think. Thank you for watching, and here endeth the lesson.